Hi, everybody. Welcome to Manhattan Community Board 4 Business License Permits Committee. We have a quorum. We have an agenda. We have applicants. So I introduce myself and the rest of the committee. My name is Bert Larson. I'm co-chair of the committee.
I'm Frank Halzubiak, the other co-chair.
Inge Evchenko, public member.
Sabrina Reveron, committee member.
Rob Walker.
One at a time.
Which one?
Whichever one. Rob, I think you introduced yourself. Yes?
Yeah, Rob Walker, community, I'm sorry, member.
Okay. Wendy?
Hi, Wendy Gonzalez, committee member.
I guess we have Christine and
Carrie?
Harry.
Hello, committee member.
And also joining us is the assistant district manager of MCB4, Nellie Gonzalez.
She makes it all happen.
Right, and Christine Berthe, community board member.
Okay. The way we work, for those of you who are not familiar, is we go through the agenda one item at a time. We ask committee members to comment after the applicant speaks. And then if there are any members of the public who want to speak, let Nellie know, and then they will speak. Okay, any questions? Oh, we have one more committee member. Introduce yourself, please. MM? You're muted.
Hi, everyone. Morgan McLean.
Okay.
Just a couple comments on the agenda. What used to be items 5 and 6 on the agenda, 331 West 51st and 142 West 24th, have postponed. So they will not be discussed tonight. Presumably they will be discussed at our next BLP meeting, which is on October 13.
And I will add that, as you probably all know, we're only advisory. We advise our full board, which meets the first Wednesday of the month. So whatever we recommend goes to the full board on that first Wednesday in October. And then the full board's recommendations go to the State Liquor Authority. And we have the first applicant is an alteration, 218 8th Avenue, Bar 21. Its hours are 6 a.m. to 12 a.m., 7 days a week. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Max Bookman here.
Hi, Max.
Hello, Bert. How are you?
Good. Hope you're well, too.
Thank you. Should we get started?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, CB4. Everyone, hello. Nice to see everyone's faces again. Hello, Nellie. My name is Max Bookman. I'm an attorney. I'm regularly before you all. And you have two cases with me tonight. The first one is Cafe Floor. So with me on that case is Raul Avila. He is the owner, the inspiration, the manager behind Cafe Floor. And he's here to answer any questions that we may have tonight. Also with him is Dwayne Holmberg. He's his right-hand man. He works with him at the restaurant and is very involved. You know both of these gentlemen because they've been before you twice before. You may recall, for those who were on the committee, I think everybody on this committee back in was here in 2018. The first time they came to you was before they knew me, and they came on their own for a full OP license. It was for a small cafe right next to the very beautiful floral shop that Raul has had in the neighborhood for years. And they wanted to do a cafe, and they had applied for a full liquor license, and that it was part of their concept. But at the time, there was, from what I understand from the meeting, even though I wasn't there, there was concern about giving a full OP to people who had never had a liquor license before, and so and they were new to the process. So you denied them. They came to me. I talked some sense into them, and we came back the next month with a beer and wine application, with the understanding always that, you know, after they've spent some time, they've proved themselves to the community, they've established a track record of respect and compliance with the neighborhood, you got a sense of who they were, we'd be back. And so here we are 2 years later. It was always the plan to come back. Part of what's accelerated, of course, is COVID, as this committee's well aware. I'm not going to get into how much that has decimated the industry and made it even more difficult to do business. But obviously, that's one of the motivating factors. But the applicants feel that having been in the neighborhood now, built this cafe, you know what it is. Hopefully some of you have been there now. You get a sense of the type of place it is. That now maybe there will be some comfort at this stage with the full OP license, which is what they always wanted to begin with. So with that change aside, we're not making any other changes to the menu, to the hours, to the very early hours, to the nothing else is changing. So happy to answer questions.
Anybody from the committee have any questions?
Yeah, Max, could you remind us how, or your client remind us how liquor factors into the sort of business model? I mean, based on the menu, it looks sort of like a coffee shop, bakery type place. And I was just wondering, does it change to something else at night, or how's it going to work?
So they've always had early hours. I mean, the hours that they stipulated with you, which is midnight, actually, they're closing on weeknights. They're closing earlier than that. And that doesn't really, they don't really plan on changing that at all. The idea from the beginning, from when they first came to you, was that in addition to the lovely pastry menu and cafe menu that they have, they wanted to have a beer and wine offering, and they also wanted to have a few cocktails on offer. That's all. And it's not, it's never changed into like a wine bar sort of scene late at night. It's always been that cafe sort of food first. And they, having operated for 2 years with just the wine piece of the menu, they want to come back for the cocktails. But it's never been a bar scene at night, even with the wine that they have. It doesn't turn into a wine bar or anything like that.
Just a couple technical things. I see you have one stand-up bar with no seats. Is that correct? It's just sort of a bar where people can stand.
Well, I'll let the operators talk about the way the place is set up. I mean, technically, under the ABC law, since we have a counter, like a food counter that people go to.
Got it. Okay. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, it's not a bar. We're not going to have like a full bar with
like the counter where you'd order coffee in the morning.
Right, exactly. That's just technically a bar under the liquor law.
And I don't want to steal Christine's thunder and issue, but
Please go ahead.
I see that are they using a storm enclosure now?
Don't know. Why don't you guys right now, or in the winter, do you have one of those winter vestibules that you put outside? Just unmute yourselves if you can answer the question.
We are looking into that, and we have no problem establishing that.
Well, it's actually their problem is what you're going to hear from Christine is they want to make sure that it meets the legal requirements and doesn't go too far into the street.
It would absolutely meet the legal requirements.
Okay, well, the reason we ask is that very few do. Legally, it can only stick out 18 inches
Correct.
From the facade of your building. So
Correct.
Virtually everyone you see on the street is actually non-compliant. So
Right.
if you get one, would you agree that it'll only be
Absolutely.
stand out more than 18 inches? Okay.
Absolutely.
That's all I have, Bert.
Christine, was your thunder stolen?
Completely.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members?
Yes.
Carrie?
This establishment happens to be on the corner of the street where I live. So I will say that in the time that they have been in Chelsea, they have been very, from what I can tell, very good neighbors. There was sorry, because I'm the newest member of this committee, I think. So I'm not sure what happened in the past, but there was a rumor of a club in the basement of that space. And I just wanted to kind of find out whether that came before this committee and it was shot down, or is there going to be any other space besides the actual very thin cafe? Will it spill into the flower shop, or, is it just the sliver where, I don't know if you guys remember, it's where Bright Food Shop used to have the little burrito stand, then I think it became a Subway.
So in terms of rumors, I'll let the guys who are on the ground sort of address that, but just, and it's nice to meet you virtually as it is. Hopefully one day we'll be in person again. In terms of what their licensed premises is, it's for this first floor only. There's no basement license. If they were to, and they wouldn't be clients of mine anymore, if they were to expand their space without a license down into the basement, that would be grounds for revocation of their liquor license. So I don't think that's something they would do. But guys, if there's anything more that you want to add to that, then feel free.
Anything the applicants want to say? Dwayne, Raul?
Sorry, I'm sorry. No, my plan is always being just at the cafe floor, opening. So to be completely clear about the timing that we open is the cafe opens from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and the store opens from 9:30 to 8 p.m. So we'll never really open until midnight, and that's not my future goal to open that late. I like to keep it something that the neighborhood can come and have a drink and, socialize and things like that. But it was never my goal or my intention to have loud music or any of those things. I'm not sure where that rumor came from because we only had the license to operate upstairs, nothing downstairs. Downstairs is just the basement. And we use it just to hold all the stuff that we sell and the store.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, does anybody raise their hands, Nellie, to speak on this application?
No, no one has.
Okay. Do I hear any kind of resolution proposal?
Second.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass this based upon the current hours that they have listed, except for the exception of outside the storm door has to be a legal requirement.
Yeah, of course. We now, because of what's going on, we have permits to see people outside. But even with that, it's never been past 10 p.m. No one really, we all have only 5 tables outside right now. Because
Raul, you're about to get approved. Just let them vote.
Okay, sorry.
That's a good lawyer. Okay, so I think Inga's resolution and Rob's resolution are just about the same thing. So is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Absent? Eligible? But what's that? I just all of a sudden lost our expression. Pressing button. Okay, I think it passes.
Okay. I just wanted to remind everyone, as with all of our meetings, this meeting's being recorded. It's being streamed live on YouTube, and the recording will be up on YouTube when the meeting is over for the foreseeable future, all of which is required by the changes to law that let us meet in this fashion.
Okay. Thanks for that reminder, Frank.
Thank you, everyone. I'll be back later in the meeting.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
moving on to number 2, which is what we call a removal application. This is an establishment that is physically moving from one side of the street, a little bit to the north, to the other side of the street, a little bit to the south. They're moving from 742 9th Avenue to 735 9th Avenue. This is Boxers. They also have a roof. Okay, the asking for hours of Sunday through Wednesday, 11 to 2 a.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 11 to 4 a.m. The roof would have to adhere to our regulations to all outdoor spaces. They have, if you see on the agenda, 120 seats inside, and the roof has 48 seats. Okay. We've gotten some letters in favor and some letters against. And we've gotten some petitions in favor. Is the applicant here?
Yep.
Donald?
Yeah, Bert, thank you. I'm here, and Bob Fluett is here, and I think Rob Hines is on the phone as well. Hi, everybody. As Bert said, this is a removal application. It is not a new application. By removal, as Bert said, what we're doing is taking the license that we have at 742 9th Avenue, which is on the northeast corner of that intersection, and has been there for 7 years. And we're taking the same company with the same license and just filing an application to move it across the street. That's all it is. It's called the removal application. The ownership is the same. The method of operation is unchanged and identical. I confirmed with Frank the end of last week and again today that the stipulations that we signed with you in 2013 with respect to 742 9th Avenue, all of those would remain in effect. There's nothing that we are seeking to change in terms of hours, in terms of music, security, use of the outdoor space, limitations on the outdoor space, such as seated table service only, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. close, no stand-up bar on the rooftop, only a service bar. All of that is just being carried over across the street, and it's the same. There are some differences, and the differences are that effectively this new space is smaller than the existing boxers. Let me just give you some information on that. So the maximum occupancy of the existing space is 274. For the new space, it's 215. The existing space consists of 7,500 square feet. The new space is a little over 5,100 square feet. So it's about a third less. The existing roof has a capacity of 83 persons. The new one will have capacity for 50. The existing boxers is also on the corner, so it has frontage on both the side street and on 9th Avenue for a total of about 125 feet. The new space is in the middle block on the avenue, on 9th Avenue, with frontage of only 25 feet. The building is also has no residential tenants in it. We will occupy it. The existing space was approved with open windows, French doors. We will not have that in the new space at all. And those important differences really mean that the space is smaller and the occupancy is going to be less. Before Boxers HK, they've had Boxers on 20th Street. They've operated that for years. They've been in a couple of other neighborhoods in the city. They're up in Washington Heights now. And they've operated in Hell's Kitchen now for 7 years. There were some kinks we had to get out at the beginning. Those of you that were around, you remember. But since then, it's been pretty smooth sailing. And in fact, Steve Belita, Steve may be on this, I don't know, but it was very nice because I would see Steve at CB4 committee and full board meetings over the years. And once we got past the first year, he would always come up to me and say, you know, they're doing a great job. Boxers is doing a great job. And it was nice to hear that so I can give Bob feedback. And if he ever had any issues, he would tell me, I would pass it on. And I hope that Steve would be the first to tell you that they've been a good neighbor and that whenever there have been any questions or issues, that Boxers has been responsive and promptly responsive and corrected anything that had to be corrected. There has been some issues that I've heard about the fact that this space has never been licensed. It was a former McDonald's. That is true, but remember, we are not adding a new license to the neighborhood because we are removing one from across the street. So we're not adding anything to the area already. Additionally, some of you may know, some of the neighbors certainly know that Bob was looking at some space, I think on 54th Street, the same street where Industry is, and the other bar, I can't remember its name offhand. And the feedback he got is, we don't need another bar on the side street. Let's stick to the avenues. And you may remember that he came before you years ago with something on 10th Street, 10th Avenue. And there was some feeling 10th Avenue is a little different than 9th. We'd rather it be on 9th. So we've really found what we think is the perfect space for this. It is literally across the street from the existing space. It is mid-block. It's on the avenue. And we think that's a good spot for it. And I know that the issue of whether it has ever been licensed is something that comes up from time to time. It's not a litmus test for a license. There's no rule that says you can only get a license in space that has been licensed. So I just wanted to put that out there. And we do know that I think in April of 2018, you had approved 674 9th Avenue, which is right down the block, which was a dry cleaner for a license with a 4 a.m. close. I don't think they went ahead with that, but this community board did approve that. So as recently as 2 years ago, and maybe since then, I just can't recall offhand, you approved space on 9th Avenue that did not have a license beforehand. So as I said, all of the stipulations would remain in effect. And I think that is all that I wanted to say. And Bob, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify 1 or 2 points. Donald, thank you. The overall square footage of the space includes the roof. So for both locations, we talk about it being 5,100, that includes the roof itself. It's not interior space. So I wanted to make that clear. And again, overall, I've obviously been in front of you guys many a time, and I've tried to learn my lessons on what, should work for the community as much as it works for us as well. And for us, we pursued avenues. I've been in front of you. I've been in front of block associations with side streets, and they've highly suggested we go to the avenues, which is how I ended up on 8th Avenue, which was feedback from the block association originally when I was looking at 52nd Street, actually. And they came back and they said, look, we really don't want to be on anybody on the side street. And so I went out and I looked and I found the social place, the social club, which on 8th Avenue. So we did the same thing here. When we decided that we think it's better for us to move from this location, and that's a COVID world we're in. We want to get smaller and we want to get a little more lean, to be honest with you. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking to relocate. We still have 4 years left on this lease, so we have time to be here. But when this came up for us and we felt that being smaller and leaner was a better situation, 1. Number 2, it's on the avenue. Number 3, it's not in a residential building. And number 4, it really limits our street exposure. And not only that, we sent a new diagram to clarify, our issues at our existing location were always the front door. So we still get issues that front door is open. Well, that has I actually put on a letter about 36 square feet. It's actually about 30 square feet. We're building a new vestibule in this location, would literally be the entire front, which would be an 86 square foot vestibule. So basically you come in the glass, there's another set of glass across the whole front, and the doors are staggered. So door on the left, door on the right, and you guys should have the diagram in your packet to completely try to create what we call a sound barrier, right? I'm a contractor, we do with air conditioning. You have air coming here, go out there, it creates the barrier for sound as well. So I think we've tried to address every issue that we could to our community board that we work with on a daily basis. So that was my 2 cents.
Bob, one question about the vestibule, which I do think is a great idea. I assume except for the door, none of the glass on the street front will open, right?
Yeah, and actually I turned the door. If you actually look, the door isn't head on. I actually created a recessed space and put the door on the right so that even when you open the door, it doesn't come straight to the street, it goes to the side. So we think that's it's a better manipulation. And also these doors when you have them on the front, can swing 18 inches into the street. This way there's no door at all that swings into the street. So the diagram, so you come in to a little area that's open to the outside. And then you turn, there's a door there, and then you have another 16 feet before you get to the next door inside. Yeah, so the answer is yes to your answer.
Okay, and a couple of technical things. Their application indicates that they're going to have dancing, but Donald and I discussed that today, and that is changed.
We took that out. I think we added it because we're not experts on that. We just figured we're allowed to today, but we're realizing we're not allowed to, and we don't anyway, so it's no big deal.
Right. Frank discovered the zoning does not include that.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate that.
Inga. I'm sorry, Frank.
Okay, just one last thing. Bob, so this is sort of like the cellar, the ground floor, a little mezzanine, the rooftop. Is there any sort of difference in method of operation there? Are they different types of spaces, or is it all essentially?
No, it's all the same. Like, so the space in the basement will be what we call like a little event room and things like that. We do, you know, some of the letters you got for us are from LGBT groups that we work with, nonprofits that we do, and they have meetings. They may have their monthly meetings. So the space downstairs will definitely be for a moneymaker for us. I'm not saying it's only for that, but 70% of the use, in all honesty, ends up being for local meetings, small groups, private parties that someone may have a birthday party. So that's the same in both locations, how it operates. And the rest of it's basically the same. The mezzanine is a small space that overlooks the first floor because it's a higher space there. So the method of operation for us is the same, and there's no difference in operations per floor.
And last thing for me, with respect to smoking, there's no smoking area on the roof, right?
Correct. We eliminated that on our current location as well. Thank goodness they don't smoke as much anymore, everybody. But so it's becoming less of a hassle, and you know, we have to deal with the e-cigarettes more than anything else. But we chase them away. But yeah, there's no smoking.
Are you having a smoking area on 9th Avenue, or you just
no? Like I said, we really don't have as big an issue with it anymore. So we're not isolating anywhere for smoking. We'll have to push it aside if we do, because it is a trickier spot there to have smoking. So
okay. Inga.
So I just want to address the being not licensed. So I know you mentioned that space is not licensed and you're not adding a license, but technically you are, because the space that already is licensed will likely be licensed again. So we'll have 2 instead of 1. I'm not opposed to this. I think a McDonald's or a bar, it doesn't really matter. Are any of the, I mean, Frank addressed the locations. The basement is going to be your moneymaker, you said. Are any of the hours changing for this location? Or
no.
Is that the same?
Yeah, I apologize. The basement is not our moneymaker. We'll definitely make money there. The first floor is our moneymaker, I'm sorry. So the point was, I didn't want to say we were not making any money in the basement. And then nothing's changed in terms of hours. We're asking for the same exact that we've had before. And to that point, we have spoken to the landlord, and one of the reasons we are looking to leave is, you know, it's just a bigger space, and in the COVID world, you know, the rents for that place in our lease is high, and he knows he's actually telling us that he's looking to develop it in 4 or 5 years. So this may expedite it because he wanted to build residential. So obviously I can't say he won't do it, but it's not like he's putting it on the market for bars at the moment. He's telling us he's looking for a dry use, or he may actually do build it up over time. So he's not sure yet what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, that was, let me just give you a little history on that space, which makes this a little unusual. Because Bob, this is the one we bought in bankruptcy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this was an Italian restaurant, you may remember. And we had made a deal, Bob and Rob had made a deal to actually buy this. And the landlord would not consent. The landlord did not want a bar in that space. And the deal died. I don't even know if we came before you on it, but the deal died. And what happened was the Italian restaurant filed a bankruptcy, a Chapter 11 petition sometime later. And we ended up buying it through bankruptcy. And one of the beauties of buying in bankruptcy is, regardless of what the lease says, the bankruptcy court can order the sale regardless of the landlord granting consent. So the landlord really never wanted us in there. They never wanted a bar to begin with. So I'm not so sure he's going to rent it for that purpose at all.
Okay. I know that in the past, I just want to make sure that we have gotten feedback from the community. So.
Anybody else from the committee? Christine?
Yes, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
What is in the back of this property?
Well, the owner who's building this is also building the residential building in the back. So he's creating rental apartments that are going to enter off of 50th Street. So in essence, that's what's going to be behind us. We have the basements, or we tie in wherever we hit, will be what they call back of house. It'll be some storage, some laundry facilities, and then he's going to have apartments going above us. So there's no question that he's building them above. But the reality, and even as the owner who's going to rent the apartments, he's like, look, you'll be here. Anything, whoever I rent to will be aware that you're there before we rent. you know, it's not like we're being put into a situation where they exist. So anybody who comes in to eventually rent would be aware of what's there first.
So I'm thinking of a slightly different question. It's the back of, if I come out the back of either the first floor or the basement, is there a backyard? Is there a...
No.
What is there in the back? Nothing?
It will be the building. So basically we don't go all the way back to the back building. We go to the back of, it's a little tricky on the site. So he's building a building on 50th Street that's going to go from 50th Street all the way to the let's say the left side, to the far south side of our property, of our space. So the whole back of our space is going to abut this new building that he's building as we speak. That's a residential building. Our egress will be out 50th Street. So if there's approved plans that we have a back door that actually makes us take a right to go out, not straight out the back. And that's enclosed. That's part of his building. So since it's one building, he doesn't have to separate egresses. So our egress will eventually be the same egress from the residential building.
So right now you're going to have one access from 9th Avenue, and currently before he builds, where is your egress?
The second egress as he's building. We can't open until he builds, right? He has to finish that. And our second egress will be through his building, right? So we're going to end up building simultaneous with him being able to get us the TCO of our one-story building on 9th Avenue before he finishes 10th. If that doesn't happen, we don't open until we have a TCO for the whole system.
So what's your timeline there for?
The spring. We anticipate the spring opening up. So more than likely we'll be closed on 50th Street. If we go ahead with this, we're going to make a deal with our landlord to get back 50th Street earlier, which would probably be after the roof deck closes, the weather changes. In our opinion, it wouldn't make sense to open there at 25 or 50% if they allow us. We're better off giving it back if he takes it, and then we'll have a period of hiatus for a few months between. So we're expecting the March maybe to be able to open the new place. April, a lot of factors, COVID as well.
Yeah, I mean, the construction in the back, I mean, it's very iffy, right? If it doesn't go as fast as you want.
Correct. Well, that's part of unfortunately, part of our lease agreement with him. Once we finalize the lease, is about timing for COVID, timing for him as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the committee? Nellie, do we have anybody wanting to speak from community?
Yes, I have two people.
Okay.
The first one is Eduardo Francisco. Eduardo?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great, thanks. I live in a community, and I have to say that I do not want, even though boxes have been there a while, Midtown is just saturated with it. There's just too many problems right now. I'm really wholeheartedly against this, and a lot of people in my area have left because of the problems we have with the bars. And maybe there's a spot in 8th Avenue, stuff like that, but I don't want Midtown to be a place where everybody comes just to have more bars and nightclubs. And even though, boxes say they say it's been fine, it's still been a problem for the community. I mean, people at night get drunk, hang out, and then come down 51st Street and start hanging out there, and, all sorts of shenanigans. Maybe from there, they're not coming or not. But the reality is this community is there's just too many bars now. And I think it's time for them to start moving on and reach, to 8th Avenue. The residential area here in our area has is not the same anymore, and I'm wholeheartedly against this. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Eduardo. And who else, Nellie?
Now we have a Greg Lynn. Greg?
Good evening. So I'm Greg Lynn. I reside and own in Worldwide Plaza. I was a former board member here in 2008, and I also participated for many years on the 51st Street Block Association along with Steve Bedita. I just want to be clear on a couple things. Number one, there have been for this specific operator consistent issues that even have never been addressed. There are multiple 311 requests that have been over the years talking about queuing outside, blocking 9th Avenue. The doors consistently on their Friday night party are open, even though there's a vestibule. They don't utilize it. They also use lawn metal detectors on Fridays and Saturdays as well. At points, the staff was also pushing staff from their side of the street over to our townhouses, which line all down 50th Street, and individuals were congregating. We invited Mr. Flewitt multiple times to the 51st Block Association meetings and never showed up. So we did want to address that. There was one item that was addressed when there was a leakage of a drain that took about 2 years and multiple different requests on that. But I do want to be clear that although in the initial things got a little bit better, I want to make sure that the picture is actually accurate, that there are probably over 100 311 requests regarding the noise on the roof and outside. We also engaged Sector Charlie Detective Lasavera when he was still part of they were over there multiple times a week. As far as telling them to close their doors, the fact that they were blocking 9th Avenue with their queuing. So I'm not, again, also representing Worldwide Plaza, there are, moving this bar from one corner to another is not going to solve this issue. It's also the plans for that particular building under McDonald's was due to be a residential building of 6 stories. It's now being changed into commercial. There was never any liquor license there. We're fearing the fact that we're now going to have 2 bars, one on each corner. It was also brought to our attention during our block association meeting as well that the first instance was to bring this bar to social on 8th Avenue, which we welcomed. It now seems that social is now being operated as a different venue, and it was not replacing Boxers, which it was going to.
Can I respond at some point?
Sorry, and then let me just to speak as well, based on vacancies within Hell's Kitchen, we are definitely open and supportive of local businesses, both in Worldwide Plaza and the Community Bar. In comparison to pre-COVID, there was no vacancies within the neighborhood for existing bars. There is a plethora of bars that are not in residential buildings, across from residential buildings, or that have existing liquor licenses that would accommodate their space even in a reduction, whether it be on 10th Avenue or 8th Avenue or 9th Avenue. We as a community would recommend a different location where we would not change from a commercial building, from a residential building to a commercial building, and also to add on an additional license within Hell's Kitchen that wouldn't have existed before for a space that was due to be residential, or at the very least, a non-bar liquored license location.
Thank you, Craig. Would the applicant like to say something?
Yeah, on a couple points. Thank you, Greg. First of all, I have a very good relationship with the Block Association. I've never been asked to go where I haven't gone. I've always volunteered to go on any of my applications. And I think Steve sent a letter to you guys to that fact that I do go when I'm asked. I volunteer to go if I have something that I'm interested in. I've gone for 2 other locations that I've never come to you guys to get their feedback. So I am I have a very good relationship with the Block Association, number 1. Number 2, it is a residential building being built. Like I was explaining before, it's not a 6-story. They're building a 10-story on 50th Street. And because of the FAR, required that the front on 9th Avenue just be a 1-story commercial from what I'm being told. So it is definitely being residential building. Regarding 311 calls, we've had none. We have occasionally a police officer might stop by twice, 3 times maybe in multiple years. We have a very good relationship with the police department. So I don't know where these hundreds of calls are coming. We don't get the complaints. Our number is listed with you guys, phone number for calling. We don't get calls about complaints. Steve Belita, I speak to almost on a monthly basis just to see how we're doing. Every chance we get, Donald speaks to him. So wherever this is going, listen, the facts are the facts. I want us to be able to address what's going about the move. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what is actually taking place. Obviously, if we're creating any issues in the neighborhood, they're always brought to us. and we resolve them when we can. We absolutely do. Our initial application that the stipulations have us allowed to keep our French doors open till 10 p.m. every night. If you read the stipulation, within the first year, the neighborhood asked us to keep those doors closed. We've kept those French doors closed ever since. That was a discussion we had with you guys to do that. So we're working as best we can with the community. So I'm a little confused by some of what just took place. And also, we did send you guys, we had a few hundred signatures we received in a couple days. But what we did is we highlighted them and sent them to you in the packet of the local. We have 61 people that we highlighted in a couple days who signed, who are right in the vicinity, including across the street next door, who are for this application. And it goes back to the same thing, you know, not my neighborhood theory, right? So what we've said is we want to be in a non-residential building on the avenue, and we think 9th Avenue is the best. And I know there's been discussion on 10th Avenue. There's other locations that we've looked at that have run into some opposition about 10th Avenue being opposed, not being the next 9th Avenue. So I do think that this location is ideal. And like I said, it's, you know, the same token, there's plenty of places that will be vacant. And we know that in the next 2 or 3 years that all these places are not getting refilled. We are going to have a reduction in our industry, which is one of the reasons why we want to move, because we want to get smaller and leaner. And that's just the world we're in today. And we have to face that fact. So
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Nellie, has anyone else from the public signed up?
Yes, I have one more person. Rob? Rob?
Hi, my name's Rob. I'm actually one of the owners. Can I go ahead and speak? I know you're doing the public.
Rob.
I just want to say that, you know, there's never a perfect situation for any bar, and I understand that, and everybody'd rather have it in another neighborhood, and I get that. But the reality is our current space is separated by 50th Street. As we know, it's a quiet street, except for our bar. Our bar does make some noise. We have an opportunity to go to a smaller space, as Donald reiterated, a third smaller, but we're going to be a major avenue away from that condo building. The only other tenants that we're going to impact at all are the tenants that are going to be our landlord, the same person. And he's made the decision as the owner of that space that he will deal with those tenants in the future. Those tenants will look at this place, they're going to look at our bar and say, you know what, I want to live next to this or I don't. So it's a very fair situation.
Okay.
Nellie, I just want to say that, yeah. Nellie, is anybody else?
No, no one else has a hand raised.
All right, so I just want to summarize what we did get in writing. As Bob Fluitt mentioned, they submitted petitions of support with about 200 names, 60 of which are local. We get 5 letters of support, you know, basically talking about how they like the place, that it supports community endeavors and things like that. There were 2 in opposition, including one from the 49th to 53rd Street Block Association and Steve Bolita. They are opposing the application because they don't like the idea of adding a new licensed establishment to the neighborhood. They believe the neighborhood is oversaturated, and they also have some concerns about the rooftop. But to address some of what's been said, Steve's email also says, I would like to point out that Mr. Fluitt always works with the community when issues arise. They don't always get resolved right away, but he does listen and works with us. He recently worked with us canceling his request for a liquor license on 52nd Street because residents expressed to him that a side street was not a good place for another bar in a saturated area.
He also mentioned in that same letter that it was not a unanimous among the people in the association. There was a few who were in favor. And one of the letters we did get in favor was from the Gay Officers League, who meet there frequently.
I have a question still.
Sure, go ahead, Christine.
When I look at the picture, it looks like, you know, the roof is on the 2nd floor, and it's going to be right next to 2 buildings, one on each side, with residents. And I'm just a bit concerned about what is going to be done for the noise, for the
So
the
Christine,
buildings which are on each side.
right. So Christine, Bert and I did a virtual site visit.
Okay.
So one thing, there are no windows in either of the residential buildings on those walls that look down
Right.
on the terrace. They're solid walls. The other, as Donald has said, is the same landlord actually owns that whole corner, including one of the residential buildings. So my understanding is that he is requiring adequate soundproofing to make sure that his tenants won't be bothered. But it's sort of one landlord that controls that whole corner.
Right. But I'm thinking more indeed about the tenants than the landlord. And I'm just wondering whether there is some treatment that could be done in the front and in the back, and especially in the back, because I presume that's where the bedrooms are, to isolate a little bit the noise coming from the terrace and bleeding over to that to those buildings in the back.
It's a fair question. Like I said, we like the fact that there's 0 windows. Where our current location, we actually have a window well that's literally right there. And all there's we've never had one complaint from our neighbors there who have windows. But to that point, you obviously know we can't play music. We won't have televisions. We even agreed on the original step, not even TVs for light and stuff like that. So I think we're going to address the front. Will have some kind of railing. Probably we can even make it solid if our sound engineer suggests that, because we will deal with the sound engineer ultimately to deal with how to manage some of this stuff. And we'll see what we can do. It might even be greenery on those side walls. We may be able to do some kind of ivy that might absorb some of the sound and stuff. So I think this one, compared to any of the other ones I've dealt with, I think the sound is a lot easier. Even when social is harder, I'm dealing with it now, as we discussed with social, because of the fact it was built already. We will use the landlord's contractor. So he's actually stopped any work on the inside in order to soundproof. So we've asked them to stop. So if this went through, that we can coordinate with them and do the proper soundproofing we need to do, not just white boxing.
Yeah, Robert, yeah. It's all good, but
yeah.
I'm getting at when you walked toward the back of your building,
yeah,
there are going to be people which are adjacent to the building, which are, so if there was some way to buffer the noise so people is not coming directly and then going into the back, because I think you are going to discover that a bunch of people are going to be affected in the back.
Well, again, the only people affected in the back will be the new building being built. So there's no alleyways that we'll see. Okay. Once they build it, it's all enclosed. Christine, this one won't have any alleys.
I got it.
So that's the event, yeah. And even to that point, to those neighbors, what we like about this one is that we can do some, I wouldn't do a roof, let's say, but we could string things up to make it more cozy, right? So it's because there's walls on either side, that if there is ever an issue with the new building being built, we can deal with it very easily. And again, it's the same landlord. So there's no alleyways, nothing that will allow sound to go out. It's only the front. That's what we liked about it. So.
And the immediate wall, I'll reiterate, the immediate wall to the north of the roof and the immediate wall to the south of the roof have no windows.
Right.
I mean, they probably were built, because they thought that there'd be another apartment house built in between,
right.
Wall to wall.
Yeah,
right.
Wall to wall. And our building doesn't go all the way back. So with a building on the south of us that has light and air in the back, we stop before we get there. So our space will stop before that.
Okay. Any additional questions from committee members, comments? Because I could see in a resolution that we might have some stipulations. Frank, would you be able to summarize them?
Yeah, these basically all the and Donald mentioned this, basically all the stipulations that we agreed to with the current location of boxers will apply here. And they cover, I think, all the issues that have come up. Donald, some of these don't make any sense anymore, so I'm going to drop them. But the ones that we will be carrying over are the rooftop is to be vacated and closed 10 p.m. Sunday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, 11 p.m. Dedicated licensed security would be on rooftop to ensure quiet environment on rooftop and count patrons. Rooftop will have sound baffling for quiet environment. Service bar only on rooftop. Service and consumption of alcohol will be only via seated food service. Sound engineer recommendations will be followed. Applicant will provide contact number and respond to complaints or concerns immediately. Security plan will be followed as submitted. Applicant will have no televisions on rooftop. Applicant will purchase sound meters and train staff to use them, will measure sound regularly. Applicant will respond to community concerns.
Can I make one last point? Just to reiterate, during COVID, obviously, we've been all trying to operate. We operate the roof deck, we operate outdoor cafe sidewalk, and we know the problems that have happened for some bars in that neighborhood. We've had 0 violations, and we've had weekly inspections by the SLA. So I just want to let you know that we've been operating through this by the letter of the law, like we always have, under such heavy scrutiny. So I hope that counts for something.
And
Thank you.
Donald, you're okay with everything I read, right? Those are just.
Yes. Yeah, I have all those same. I pulled them out from the prior step, and I went over those with Bob, and they were all fine.
Yeah, and
They're all
the others, I think, just are supplanted by the changes in structure and things.
Would anybody from the committee want to add any additional stipulations? Do I hear a resolution? Inga,
Motion to approve.
with the stipulations that Frank wrote.
Frank.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
He seconded. Rob also seconded it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Present, not eligible. Okay. Thank you, and good luck.
Bert, what
Thank
was
you
the
very
count?
much, as always.
Bert, what
Say
was the
what?
count? What was the count?
Nellie has it. The count, Nellie?
Sorry. I have 1 opposed and then 9 yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Again, thank you very much. I appreciate
And
it.
remember, this comes to the full board, and then the full board has to vote on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you. Moving along now to new applications. We have 2 new applications for liquor licenses. Number 3, we have at 371 West 46th Street. That's between 8th and 9th Avenue. I don't know if you've all seen it. It has 4 sets of hours, 4 to 12 a.m. on Monday, 2 to 12 a.m. Thursdays and Wednesdays, 2 to 2 a.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 2 to 12 a.m. on Sunday. Max.
Well, we really think about the closing hours, and so in that sense, there's really only 2. That's the weekend closing hours, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then there's the rest of the week closing hours. But fair enough. In any event, good evening again, CB4. I'm Max Bookman. Again, with me is Linda Salmon, Jasmine Gerald, and Yvette Gerald, all together on one screen down there. Hopefully you can all see them. Maybe they could just wave so everybody can see them. Those are the applicants for Jasmine's Caribbean Cuisine. So a little bit about them and then the application. Linda is the owner of the building. Jasmine and Yvette are a mother and daughter team. Yvette has an 11-year history of managing bars and restaurants in the Virgin Islands, a French Caribbean restaurant called L'Escargot, a place called Coco Jones, has in the Marriott Hotel, and they're looking to open a Caribbean restaurant on 46th Street, a rather busy stretch of 46th Street, which folks on this committee know better than I. They are replacing Pulperia. So Pulperia had been there a number of years. This board had approved them with stipulations. Pulperia is leaving, and Linda and Yvette and Jasmine are looking to give it a go. Same hours of operation that you had approved for Pulperia, so that's where we got them from. They're not looking for anything different with that. Which, to repeat, the closing hours piece of it is 2 a.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, midnight the rest of the week. Same layout as Pulperia, recorded background music. Pulperia did do occasional drag shows where they would have someone dressed in drag like sing, no microphone or stage or anything. They would just sort of, sing. It was a draw. They're looking to continue that tradition there. So that's why we put on our 30-day notice the continuance of drag shows. I think show might be kind of an overstatement, but it existed there. One correction, we do have on our application that there's going to be live music. That was never the plan. It was, not sure how it got on there, but it shouldn't be. So, there is no live music, no plans for it. So we're happy to answer questions that the committee has.
Yeah, Max, I'm a little confused about what's going on outside because we don't have any record of there being a Sidewalk Cafe there previously. And my recollection of that block is that to the extent they're outdoor tables, they're all within the property line and no one actually has a Sidewalk Cafe. So you seem to have one table outside and then two in a Sidewalk Cafe.
Yeah, so I was a little confused too. So here's what I looked into it, and here's sort of where we're at with the outdoor seating. So two components. There is the outdoor seating within the property line, and then there's the the traditional Sidewalk Cafe. This is not discussing any additional COVID layering that DOT has. That's obviously a separate discussion. So as far as that first category, which is the within property line seating, they have room for basically one table, and that's what Pulperia had, where if you walk into the property, there's like a little outdoor sort of it would be like the garden if it was a brownstone.
A little stone wall and.
Yeah, and there's one step up and you could have one table there. And so they're gonna have that there. In addition, and I didn't know this, and this is what the city's website says. I didn't actually check the zoning books, which is my Bible on it. But at least as far as the city's website is concerned, they're saying that the area is zoned for small sidewalk cafes. That term of art, small sidewalk cafes, where you have one row of tables that is up against the property line and you can't go further than that. I mean, to the extent that's true, we want to be able to reserve the right to one day apply to the department.
You probably know what you're going to hear from me or us on this, which is we really can't, vote on a Sidewalk Cafe until we get DCA plans and see all the obstructions and everything.
Doesn't stop me from asking.
Yeah. So can we, at least I'm okay with the outdoor table on the property line, but can we get rid of the Sidewalk Cafe from this application?
Yeah, that's fine. And it's also particularly fine nowadays because DCA is not even accepting Sidewalk Cafe applications right now because they want everything to go through the DOT program. So one day, whenever that day is where the mayor's done extending the DOT program, we'll look into it further. And if we think there's a viable small Sidewalk Cafe, we'll come back to you.
Okay. And I think this is just a technical thing on our question about not having sidewalk obstructions. I think you meant to say you answer yes to that.
I think we get that wrong more often than we get it right.
But you're agreeing not to place anything on the sidewalk.
That's correct. We agree not to obstruct the sidewalk.
Okay, that's it for me.
Questions from anyone else on the committee?
I
None?
do.
Inga.
Windows that opened. You're going to keep windows closed, obviously, when there's any music inside. I see on the application it says there are windows that can be opened.
Yeah. So whatever you normally, I think your steps typically for just regular recorded background require the windows to be closed.
Yeah, any kind of amplified sound, and you agreed to that.
Well,
I think they agreed to close the windows whenever there's amplified sound, and
we always agree to. Yeah, if that's your standard step, we always agree to that. So.
Sure. Okay.
And I had a clarification. So you said you don't have live music, but when you have drag shows, I mean, it's not background, right? So when you clarify, I mean, it doesn't have to be live, but it's certainly amplified.
Well, no, actually. So it's not, I mean, we called it drag shows. That we probably shouldn't have called it that because it's not a show in the sense that we are, we have sort of tickets or stage or even amplified microphones. These are basically just people who are, you know, in the aisle. There's like one drag performer at a time who in the aisle goes around singing without any amplification. And so no music, you know, they're just singing songs. And so that's what we're doing here.
Got it.
Christine, I was leaving the storm enclosure to you.
Is fine because it's on their property.
Is it?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Since they're all, it's
That's
all
why
recessed
I had
from
to
the property
restrain
line.
myself.
We have a setback, huh?
Most of those buildings on that block have setbacks.
Yeah, this is a big setback.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, Bert and Max, I don't want you to get in trouble if we eliminate the live music with this drag performer. Is there some
Why don't you
step where
leave
we
the
can
live music?
capture what you want to do?
Music too.
Why don't you
Sorry?
leave the live music there?
Well, I don't.
Just in case.
If you're suggesting it, I won't say no.
Well,
Yeah.
but can we agree it'll cease earlier, like all live music and performance will cease by midnight or something?
I think that's agreeable.
Okay.
Good. Anybody signed up to speak, Nellie?
No, no one.
Okay. Do I hear,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
and any stipulations stand out? We talked about live music not past 12 o'clock. And the Sidewalk Cafe is eliminated for some future date as a separate application.
Right, and they're going to change the answer on the sidewalk obstructions. but-
Right.
Right.
Including the within that one seat within the property line we're keeping. It's just the
Yes.
the
Yeah.
DCA
That's-
sidewalk cafe.
That's within the property line. That's your business, what you put there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a resolution? Inga, second?
We did that. We already did that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed, abstaining, present not eligible. I think it passed.
All right. That's it for me tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is also a new application at 10 Columbus Circle.
It's a no-brainer. Okay.
Christine, your mic is open. We heard what you said.
I was hoping you would hear.
Oh, that's called a stage whisper, right? Okay, Twee, welcome.
Yes, thank you. I apologize for arriving late.
Okay, now did I see, Frank, are you the lawyer?
Why am I always the last one on your agenda?
We'll try to work it differently, Frank, next time.
How are you guys?
Okay,
Yes, I'm the attorney. Nicholas, are you on?
yeah, we see him.
I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Guys, you may or may not be familiar with the Tartunery concept. Nicholas, is it 6 or 7 places right now?
5.
5. Sorry.
Yes. We closed the first one.
You should be saying this, but I'll say it. Tartuneries are French sandwiches.
Yes.
And
You want
go ahead.
I'll let you speak. No, I let you speak.
Because it's
I'm
really
They're
fine.
not sandwiches.
So I hate to
only
call
one
them
side.
sandwiches. Exactly. Yes. So they're not sandwiches. They're tartines, which is one slice of bread with a topping, and we have, like Frank said, we have multiple locations in the city, and we are very excited to take over the Bouchon Bakery space in the shops at Columbus Circle on the 3rd floor. I'm sure many of you know the location. And we're going to be doing exactly what we've done elsewhere in the city, which is operating a cafe bar from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. approximately. And that's it. We've been around for 10 years. And let me know if you have any questions.
No outdoor space, no terraces or anything like that.
You know, it's completely indoors, and you're in the what's currently called the Time Warner Center.
Yeah.
But that probably will change the name someday. Any questions from the committee? Inga,
So I just have one quick question.
it's not about a storm enclosure because it's enclosed completely already.
No bikes and no closing the windows, but are you taking the space that's obviously Bouchon and then that center space where
Yes.
people eat and sit? So there are two center spaces. One is kind of roped off where you serve, and then one is where you can just go and sit if you get your stuff at the counter. Is that basically all the same?
Yes, it's staying the exact same layout.
Motion to approve.
Second. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Present not eligible? It passes.
Awesome.
Bonne chance.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you all.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Good night, Frank. Good night, Nicholas.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we have committee people. We have two things remaining on the agenda. One on indoor dining and one on outdoor dining.
And there's also district needs, if anyone.
Oh, the district needs. Right. Thank you for reminding me. So in the past, remind us, Frank, what we've done in the past.
We haven't done anything for this committee.
Right.
Basically, every committee at this time of year is asked to see if there's anything the committee wants included in district needs to go to the whole board and ultimately be included in our presentation of things we'd like resources devoted to. We've never come up with anything on this committee, but we keep it on the agenda in case anyone has new ideas.
Okay. Now, on the agenda, the indoor dining and the outdoor dining.
Wait.
Wait.
Yeah, this is for
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait. Sure.
I wanted to ask, so it sounds as though there's nothing in the past that has been asked in terms of budget requests
From this committee.
I think the reason is, let me explain that for 1 second. The reason being that this committee essentially deals with, police, NYPD, and then the SLA. And the SLA is a state authority, not a city council authority. So when we provide input for the city council budget, or the mayor's budget, if we put items which are for the state, it's not, it doesn't go anywhere.
It's not relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
We're asked the district needs in terms of the municipal budget
Right.
that we have control over locally, not the state budget. I mean, we want more SLA inspectors, but that's not what the city budget's about.
I mean, we can always separately write a letter to our elected officials, Dick Gottfried and Brad Ullman and Linda Rosenthal, and send a letter with requests from the SLA. And then they can take it up at the assembly, at the state level. And that would be the place to funnel our request. But the statement of district needs, the only thing that would that would be relevant is essentially, NYPD stuff. And if there continues to be outside the dining, there may be some requests we have of DOT, but that these are the two agencies to which we could direct request.
Does that make sense to you, Tweet?
Yeah, and I also like the idea of keeping that open because we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
Okay.
Rob, did you want to say something about district needs too?
I wanted to make a comment, but it has nothing really to do with fiscal. Is there any way that we could maybe do a meeting, but have small business there? Because we're going to be losing a lot of businesses come up. Can we also do it in conjunction with the nightlife ambassador, to where we could all sort of kind of find out what the future is sort of kind of going to look like for us over the next year or so?
Rob, we have a balanced business task force. We just recently had a forum opening up to what small business needs. We did something in the full board, and I think we will continue with this. I like your idea of meeting with maybe the nightlife people specifically, because we're BLP, restaurants and drinking establishments. I would like that sometime in the future to work that out. What the future will be is a major
This is
question.
a conversation with COVID, that's all.
It's
If
amazing,
we could get like all of us in a room and just sort of kind of talk about things. That's all. That's all I wanted to present.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that we have right now, is talking about the indoor dining. Do we want indoor dining? Do we want to make a statement about that? Just discuss it among ourselves. What are our feelings right now about indoor dining for New York City? Some people are saying, wait. Governor is saying we need more regulatory people out there to watch what's going on, to report infractions. There are other people saying, actually, there are people from the nightlife who are suing the governor. I think there's 320 some odd people, the last I heard, in the suit to open up the nightlife. There was a piece in the Times recently, somebody owning a restaurant in Little Neck saying, you know, I can't open up my restaurant indoors, but my neighbor 3 blocks away across the Queens-Nassau line, his restaurant is open. Same situation as mine, but there's a political boundary between the two. So we thought we'd just throw this out for us to consider, just what a little roundtable among ourselves. What do we think? Can we come to some kind of consensus if we want to bring a resolution before the full board for October, which by then may even be moot, but who knows? The mayor is wherever he is, and we know where the governor is. So I'll shut up and listen to everybody else.
Right.
Christine, and then Inga.
You know, it feels like if they were opening at 30% capacity, for example, that would be a beginning, you know, which mitigate the risk, etc. And then having a temperature test when you get in, even though we know that some people don't have any, how can I say, don't have any symptoms, but they carry it, which is always indeed the big problem, is that you don't know who is going to go to the restaurant and come back and have it. So that's the big question. But I think considering how good the thing has been, you know, the progress has been, giving a little more space to the restaurants, because October is when the outdoor space is going to close. So what are they going to do? You know, I think giving them a 30% proportion, 30% occupancy would be maybe a good first step.
Inga.
Well, I agree, Christine, on a very small start in stages, just like the offices are going back whenever they do. The only thing is I don't know if it doesn't work. We still need a winter plan. We need to make an outdoor plan with, I don't know, heaters. There needs to be an outdoor plan in conjunction with the indoor, because if the indoor doesn't work, the restaurants have nothing they need to have an outdoor plan first. That's just a very strong feeling. I think they need to work on an outdoor plan for the winter, maybe through December, because with heaters and something, maybe it can work for a little while. New York doesn't get that snowy. We don't get anything really. So with the heaters, we could do it. January, February might be a little iffy, but at least through December, some kind of an outdoor plan. We all go to the markets. We all have, I mean, it could work outside, but they need to make some kind of an outdoor plan and slowly phase in the indoor, because if it just dead stops, then they're just with nothing.
Right. So Inga, I don't think there's been a decision that it is going to expire at the end of October. I think that's still an open issue. And I think it was Hoboken in New Jersey that actually extended their outdoor dining through the end of December.
Yes, Hoboken did that.
What I've heard from restaurant owners, though, is that the city's concern is about the sort of platforms in the roadway and what happens if it snows and how does it all get plowed. That seems to be one of the big stumbling blocks with at least the roadway stuff.
They need to roadways for the pedestrians and the restaurants, but I mean, they need to, don't we have some kind of regulations with the heating? Like we can't have those gas heaters in the...
No, they can have the heater in the, in the Sidewalk Café they can.
But only only certain approved, gas heaters. They're very specific requirements about what you can have.
That's what I thought for New York. So, but as long as they have an outdoor plan through the end of the year, I wouldn't be adverse to trying. I mean, I'm not going indoor to a restaurant, but some people might. But they need to have an outdoor plan along with it, because... And
as far as the, sanitation and the snow plowing, etc. I mean, I was just looking at the number of snow days we have in New York, and before Christmas, it's very, very unusual that we would have a snow day. These snow days are in January and February. So we can always take the risk and then say, if you have, just like the people are supposed to clear the snow in front of their store, but then they can go and clear the snow on the bike lane, because that's the only thing anybody cares about.
Right.
I would also, I'm sorry, Inga, go ahead.
They need to have this, they need to have what Christine just said. They need to have it as a plan. So restaurant owners and bar owners know what their responsibility is in December. They can't just say, well, they need a plan for outdoors. What do you have to do if it snows? What do you do? What kind of heater can you have? They need to have the plan so everyone understands it, and then they can work on an indoor plan simultaneously if they like.
Well, I want to say something about the indoor plan. Yeah, like upstate can be 50%, but I wouldn't have up 50% in New York City. I think 25 or 30%. 30%. And I also am aware that we have indoor dining. It's approved as of October 1st or October 15th. The restaurants are not going to be inundated with people.
Right. Well, you never know.
I don't think so. I think many people still choose not to go inside and would prefer to be outside. But I also want to add, this is something I was thinking about, Frank brought it to my attention. Employees. There are employees at risk for whatever reason who might be afraid of returning to an indoor dining situation. And I would only want to approve indoor dining if there was some, and I don't have the answer exactly what the mechanism is, some accommodation. Because if the employer says, we're open, get yourselves down here at 9 o'clock or at 7 o'clock on Monday morning, and someone says, I can't, the employer says you're fired, that person is cut off on unemployment insurance. Because they're choosing not to participate. So I would want...
Is that the case? Is that the trigger?
That is the case. And, I was going to pipe up on that one too.
Go ahead, Michael.
If I were a waiter or something like that, yeah, I'd be really concerned about this, especially if I'm an older guy, you know? I'm not going back to work. What do I say when I apply for when I certify my unemployment benefits? Yes,
Right.
I refused work. Indeed, now what? There has to be some exemption there for people.
Right.
And there are exemptions there now. There are currently exemptions for the COVID business in the unemployment certification. I do it for my son, so I know what these many exemptions are. But it's got to be extended, you know, just like unemployment's got to be extended as well, you know. So, but in all, you know, what both Inga and Christine have said so far, I totally agree with. I mean, everything that you've said is like on point. Question is, where does this letter go? Who are we talking to? Got to keep in mind that Corey is supposed to be now the head of this task force, according to the governor. I don't know if he's accepted that, but I guess he will if he wants to run for mayor, right? In any event.
Exactly.
You send it to the mayor and the governor, copy Corey, and copy the industry, and then they know that some community board are in support.
Right. I would, if we do a resolution, I would send it to the governor, to the mayor. I would also send it to the Nightlife Association, the Restaurant Association. I tweeted. Harry, did you have your hand up as well, or were you just?
We have a whole bunch of
Okay. Tweet.
here. You have Rob and Sabrina and Wendy.
Tweet.
Yeah, I had my hand using the button, and then I guess visually is what we're doing now. I had a question because I thought there was supposed to be something about the filters or the ventilation systems in the restaurants being changed so that they're more HEPA filter and more, more for the circulation and the cleaning of the air. That's the impression that I had, because what I'm seeing is that people, if they want to have it, they want to leave the door open so there can be indoor dining, and then still have that circulation from outside. But then I didn't know about the HEPA filter systems that they're supposed to be installing.
Okay. I apologize, Wendy, Sabrina, and Rob. I was only looking visually. I didn't look on this side. So, Wendy?
Yeah, my hand was up on the side too.
Oh, I didn't. Go ahead, Wendy.
Totally in favor of sending a letter. Totally in favor of simultaneous outdoor planning in addition to indoor planning. I think for indoor, I agree with Tweed that one of the massive issues is ventilation systems. It's the only way to somewhat keep people safe, which is for a lot of business owners going to be a major expense. So I would say in our letter, I don't know how we would want to phrase this, but a recommendation that some sort of fund or, grants become available for business owners to apply to in order to bring their ventilation systems up to whatever this code is. In addition, something we heard from the Balanced Business Task Force when we did the panel was there is just a lot of confusion in general, even around things that we now seem to have gotten used to, like wearing masks. But how does a business owner actually enforce that? What are the rules? The business owners on the panel expressed a ton of confusion over that, and that being one of their major frustrations with all of this. So I think just also spelling out for both the continued outdoor dining and how we would handle snow and things like that, in addition to the indoor dining plan, setting up very clear guidelines, because that was a major stress that business owners didn't need to undergo.
Okay, Sabrina.
Yeah, pretty much echoing the same. I think we should have a plan for indoor dining, about 25, 30 capacity max. And then there also needs to be something outdoor. There are models of this. I know Europe does it, France does it in winter, previous pandemic. And I don't know, also that's also going to be cost, right? Because if you have heaters and it's going to be electricity. And I was even talking to somebody it's like, well, maybe what happens if it could be fires too, right? But I don't know. I'm not an electrician myself, but I know that if you have a lot of them, it's what happens in, we're not fires, but blackouts as well. Like what happens when you have all the ACs on during the summertime, right? Could be something like that. Could happen with heaters too. I don't know. I'm not a electrician or an expert on this. There's just concerns that I have had myself. But I do think that we need to send a letter and don't know how to ask those questions or imply them, but maybe what Wendy was saying, some sort of a fund or something like that.
Okay, Rob and then Inga.
I agree. We should turn around and send 2 letters to officials. Basically, if we could extend what we currently have outdoors till the end of December. As far as it goes for indoors, if we're going to get any increase, it's going to be due to this weekend, and we should see it in the next 2 weeks. Provided the numbers still continue to go down, let's all go to 25, 30% as far as it goes for indoor dining. Also, have it where you come in, the hostess turns around, they zap you, they get your temperature real quick, they ask you a few questions. Have you been out of the country? Have you been out of the city? Have you been in contact with anyone with COVID? I hate to say it, but it's like the barbers had to go through worse to sort of kind of do this checklist for, the people coming in so you could sit in a chair to get a haircut. Why not do the same? Wear your mask until either beverages or food is served, and then just take it really slow. I think there are people out there, they're hungry, they want to work, they're tired of being cooped up, and then if people who can't work, there are things out there for them saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable in this environment going back to work. They shouldn't be penalized. That's about it.
Thank you.
I just had one comment regarding, again, I iterate, we have to make it clear to business owners and restaurant owners what the regulations are for indoor and outdoor, no matter what we do. But with regards to the filters, it's not the restaurant owner or the bar owners who control that. It's most often the building owners. Whether or not they put those in has nothing to do with the restaurant owner. So we can't really make that a contingency for whether or not a restaurant can open, because most of them cannot force their landlords to put in I think it's MB13. I think 13 is the minimum filter. Those are very expensive, and most landlords are just going to say no. So while it would be nice, I don't think it's realistic.
Okay, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm wondering how we get compliance, mask wearing, temperature taking, all of that stuff. And do we need to involve, like, what is the role of the police, or who is policing compliance? Because if we're going to put restaurant workers at risk, how do we make sure that everybody who goes into a restaurant is behaving the way that they need to behave?
Well, that's Governor Cuomo's main objection to indoor dining in New York City right now. He insists that there's been no adequate enforcement of the regulations to date. And today he called indoor dining in New York City reckless or negligent under the present circumstances. So that is his big concern. And I've heard concerns from restaurant workers that it's not just testing compliant people. It is people who just refuse to wear masks,
right.
And, the whole political statement issue. And, restaurant workers feel they're bizarrely on the front line of enforcing these rules that, they didn't set and keep changing. So it's a confusing issue right now.
But I think...
Wait, Christine Morgan.
Sorry.
From an operational standpoint, it's like Frank says, a lot of employees and people I've talked to coming from within the operations are fearful and scared, and they're kind of put in a hard place on the rock, because unemployment, as Michael said, is once your employer calls you back, New York State handles you differently. I'm going to shoot myself again for the many years, and at some point, like the other day, I was riding down 9th Avenue, and I saw that the Midtown North, or some police officers in uniformed police officers, spreading out, telling a restaurant owner to spread his tables back out. So my segue into what we're talking about, enforcement and compliance and protecting employees, is maybe somehow, here I say it, paid detail in liquor license establishments. This is a crisis. Our industry is imploding. We can only hire so many security guards. What if there's a cop on a group of restaurants get together, they get one police officer and somebody who isn't going to wear their mask and starts a protest or something, that helps the local operator. I doubt it will go anywhere. I've been saying it for a long time, and I stopped saying it many years ago. Christine, maybe you remember, but paid detail. I'm thinking if I'm out there at my age trying to control a crowd that wants to come in, I'm overwhelmed, and I can't call my waiter, my busboy, and my manager or whatever to control that crowd, no matter how much they want to work or don't want to work. It's people get a little different with alcohol, and with the density of this city, operationally, I want to open and get back to work, but I don't see it happening real soon. And so with the police department in crisis and restaurants not having any money, but if they got together and pooled their money for one officer in a block or something, one officer amongst 5 licenses, I don't know. And then that gets paid to pay detail. The officer's assigned from downtown. We never see the same officer twice in a row, blah, 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 like TD Bank on the corner of 42nd and 9th. And as far as operationally having somebody assigned to taking your temperature, making sure you wash your hands, and asking you 7 to 10 questions, that's one more employee I've got to pay. And I don't have any, I can hardly get my landlord to work with me. I don't own a license. I'm talking hypothetically, of course. And the HEPA filters are wonderful. The ones you mentioned, Nigger, they're great. I don't know a landlord that does that. That in my leases that I was looking at, I was required to do all of my own HVAC. Yeah. I never got a lease. Everything in that lease said you're responsible and you have to meet all the code and you have to pay for it. Maybe you know of a landlord that does that. You have to include your landlord and perhaps amend your lease. And maybe things have changed since I was looking for a restaurant years ago. Thank you.
Okay, I have Rob, Christine, and Inga.
Yeah, if we're at 30% capacity at a restaurant, the host, if they're saying how many tables, how many people, outside, inside, they could also turn around and ask you these questions really quickly. I mean, I go to my local community health center, and they've got me in and out in under 90 seconds, as far as it goes for temperature taking and the questions. The other thing I wanted to comment on was sugar bears. Swiss cheese. The mental health and hygiene. I'm sure would like to bring back most of their people, and considering the amount of restaurants that are closed, these people aren't working. Why don't we ask them to bring these people back so they could turn around and check in on the restaurants that are opening up at 30% capacity and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? I mean, instead of inspecting the kitchens to making sure they're up to speed, which they should be, but they could also turn around and be bringing these people back to also check on if they're doing the right thing at the door. That's it.
Christine.
Yeah, I think Inger's idea of being very, very clear of what are the rules is very important. And having, like a small poster at the entrance saying you must wear a mask, therefore put the owner of the restaurant in a much better position that if people come in and don't wear a mask, they can call the police. And right now the problem is that it's really not clear cut, and they don't. So I think having very clear directions is one of the. When we were before COVID, everybody had clear directions, right? Then we went into COVID and it was a little bit very, very confused. So now we are going out of COVID, or slowly out of COVID, and we need to get back to having a very clear rules, saying that's the way it's going to be, guys. And so especially if we want Cuomo to get more amenable to open, we need to really articulate how the enforcement, how the communication and the enforcement are going to be established and respected.
Okay.
I have 2 quick things. Just one more on the restaurant part. I don't know if anyone read today, on the ferry in New York City, 2 people got on and refused to put their mask on.
Right.
It took
Right.
held up the ferry for an hour. They had to call the police. It's going to be disruptive and it's going to tax the police, because that took a whole hour. You have to get there, and then they had to handcuff them. They had to talk to them. It's going to be hard to enforce that. But anyway, the last thing I have to say is, did anyone tell Christine that I was her at the last meeting?
Oh, really?
Right. Yes. Incarnated you at the last meeting, Christine. She challenged you.
I didn't give my approval, but I'm very flattered. I mean, you know.
Oh, we thought you deputized her, Christine.
This is very
That
funny.
was my assumption.
So did you talk about storm enclosure?
I think
she did better than you.
I even voted against some hours.
Right. You did all of it, right?
Okay. Morgan, your hand is up again, and then tweet.
Last comment. I think we got to be careful when we compare other businesses and getting, in and out quickly, because my experience when I was getting my teeth cleaned today is I had a person assigned to me to take my temperature, to take my oxygen level, to wash my hands, to assign me a mask. It didn't take long, but I would not compare that to a crowd getting in front of my restaurant of a party of 6 that cannot be processed at one time together. You need to separate everybody out. And I want to make sure I'm not being too picky. It can be done. The biggest thing is enforcement. It's labor intensive. It's one-on-one. It's me talking to each one of you 6 feet apart.
Morgan, I guess I assumed that any letter we sent would be about things, general things like needing clear rules and needing enforcement, but
yes.
Not getting into the weeds of, about, whether temperatures should be taken and that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't think we have the expertise to.
No, I know. I was using it as an example of how difficult it would be. It's doable. I think it's really doable, but it's very expensive. It's very labor intensive, and a general statement isn't gonna. I think answering Cuomo's call for the large cities or New York, that's where it comes down to. And I think your example, Inga, is I don't know that specific example, but 9th Avenue 2 nights ago, there were people having a throwdown and the cops rolled up because they were not going to wear masks. They're not wearing masks. And if I have to deal with that as an employee or an operator, I don't know if we want to talk about specifically how I'm going to do it, but you got to have the cop. You got to have somebody there in a uniform, in my opinion. And I hate to say that because the cops have better things to do, maybe. So pay detail. Thank you.
Am I going now? Okay, I missed it. Okay. So yeah, just to get to Inga's point, the full story, which makes me livid, is that they said it wouldn't happen to me if I were Black. Black Lives Matter, and they scoffed at the whole thing. And that was just ridiculous. In terms of, and I'm saying this outright because this is a safe space, this is how I feel. But in terms of enforcement, there was a talk about fining people $1,000 for not wearing the mask in the subway. If the city wants to get their money back, they have to start fining people. And if it's going to be with police detail, or whether or not it's going to be, there's something on Law and Order about like security police detail or peace officers or whatever it might be, that they're not fully armed. They might just have a repellents instead or whatever. But you just lay down the law and you say, look, no mask, $1,000 fine, you're done, you're out of here. Like, that's it. How else are you going to, that's just me.
I think, let me put this in words. I think we're getting off on tangents, because I would like us to come to some general conclusions, what we might want the board to come out with a statement in October.
Simultaneous indoor-outdoor plans, very clear rules for the outdoor and the indoor.
Guidelines for enforcement.
Guidelines for enforcement, 25 to 30% capacity, some kind of, if we can create a grant system for heaters on the outdoors or HVAC systems indoors. I don't know if that's in the cards, but we can include
8 people per party.
Say what? What'd you say, Rob?
No more than 8 people per, no more than 8 people per party. And if you're a household that's living together, all together, you only need to ask one question to the leader of the group.
Well, I don't want to get into the
Detail.
piece about the question.
I know. It's just like 8, no more than 8 people per party. That's
Yeah,
all.
I just want to say, upstate, you walk into a restaurant, you don't get a temperature gun in your head, and you're not questioned.
No.
No, and it's up to you if you want to enter. And I've noticed in some of these restaurants, I tend to be on the outside, but I've been inside a couple of times, that the seating area and the tables, very clear, separated and apart, not more than like 4 people at a table, because they have, small tables, not huge party tables. Everyone is wearing a mask until they sit down. The servers all have masks. The issue is the bar. That's something else. Because though people may at the beginning keep a distance, give them one drink.
Maybe that's what you're saying, is that no bars, so nobody at the bar. And then, maybe you should say there should be a limit to the number of the party.
Yeah.
And you don't say what limit, you let somebody else figure it out.
Seated alcohol service only. Seated alcohol service only. No standing.
I like that.
Service. I hate to say it, but there's just no way. And if I've had my first drink and I get a little, I know we don't want to get in the weeds. I got it, Frank, but it's just the way people are. People are like,
okay, and that I have a thought, which is
6 feet apart.
We are all talking about enforcement and who is going to do that. There is the traffic enforcement officers. They don't have a gun, and they could certainly, and there are 3,000 of them, and they could certainly pull on that resource to look at the enforcement. So I think we could say there must be enforcement, and the state should be creative about where to recruit the enforcement. There is a traffic force. There is what Rob was talking about. There is the health department, etc. So we just want to open the door that it doesn't have to be your NYPD narrow definition.
Okay. What I think what will happen, what I'm thinking, and let me know if you are with me on this, is that Frank and I will come up with some kind of draft. Oh, Frank is out of the room. Frank, I'm volunteering.
Frank will write the draft.
That the two of us will come up with some kind of draft, say within the next 10 days. And Nellie, when is our meeting in October? I looked in the book.
It's late.
It's October
7th. It's as late as
October 7th. So we have really a deadline of October 2nd or 3rd to come up with a full letter, a full resolution. So maybe Frank and I come up with a draft and we'll circulate it and people can comment, and then we'll come up with a final draft and then circulate it again so everybody can sign off on it or not. Doesn't everybody
take the first crack, Bert? I'm still on vacation.
Right, you're still on vacation up in Maine. Okay, I have no problem with that.
And one thing on comments, which will remind people, we have to be careful that comments only go to Bert and me and not the whole committee, because otherwise it turns the whole commenting process into a public meeting. But we'll explain that when we send it out.
Right, thanks for bringing that up.
Bert and Frank, you actually would need to have the letter in if you're going to do it for full board by October 1st, so that we can e-blast it out by October 2nd.
We have to get it done before that.
Yes.
I think we can do it. I mean, I'll work on it. The next bite. I'll have something to Frank by the weekend.
So you want to...
Carrie, you about to say something?
Yeah, I just have a quick thing. There's something in the chat that is an interesting idea, just in terms of enforcement as well, and confusion, and making sure that there is a lot less, which is making restaurants reservation only. I don't know if that's doable, but it's interesting because put all of your sort of, rules and how you have to comply when you make the reservation. So you are basically opting in. And if you opt in and then you don't comply, then it's a lot easier, I think, to shut down the conversation about, you need to leave, we need to call the police, etc. So
when you make the reservation, you have to wear a mask.
That's right. And it's all very clearly stated, and maybe it's one page that pops up for every restaurant. I don't know, but it's a good idea, I think, to think about that you're opting in. There's no confusion. If you choose to eat here, it's clearly stated how you comply. So I thought that was an interesting thought.
Yeah.
So some restaurants are doing that now, actually, for outdoor dining as well, and it works out great. All the decent restaurants ask for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reservation. But Bert, before we forget, don't forget to leave out the unemployment.
No, I'm not leaving that out. I have that.
Okay.
I have that down. Some accommodation for workers who have trepidation about coming back immediately, and that they will have access to some kind of unemployment and income support.
Okay.
And I also
Right,
want to
probably-
reserve the last comment of this meeting, okay? When we're all done with this, I got 2 seconds, I want to say something, okay?
Okay.
No,
We
have
had
another subject.
Yeah.
we had the other subject, which this is the indoor dining. Christine had suggested a discussion about outdoor dining, the way it is now. And tell me if I'm off on this, Christine. The way I understood it, we're talking, there's a good chance it's going to be made, certainly extended for another couple of years, if not permanent. Okay? And what's going to happen in that process going forward? Will we need to be adding certain kinds of questions on our applications? If, unlike now where it's an emergency and it goes to DOT, and eventually it becomes normalized, the process, and goes back to us. And then what kind of stipulations would we might add on, questions that we might ask applicants? I would like us, if it's okay, to have this discussion next month and then move forward with that then. Unless you want to throw something in, Christine.
Lighting.
No, the only thing I wanted to do is, I think you described very well what I was going to say. The additional comment is like, in case the process continues to be outside of our process, right? When we have new restaurants coming in, we can ask them, do you intend to do it? And if you intend to do it, are you going to respect those rules? Because we know they are never going to come in front of us. And when they want a license, that's when we have some leverage to negotiate something, as we have seen in the past. Therefore, we can, and there are a whole bunch of things which are already in the guidelines. So we just want to confirm that they understand the guidelines. And then there are things which are not in the guidelines, like the music. I mean, we have had, Frank and Bert know that, we have had a running discussion about what is permitted for the music outside and how they do that. And my observation are some way and the reality are some other way. So I think we can do that next month. What I'd like to do is circulate maybe a draft, and then at next month we can have a substantive discussion.
So your draft would be some of your suggestions, what we might want to include as questions.
Right. And the way I drafted it is like, there are the things which are existing guidelines from DOT or SLA that we want to remind people. And there are things that we have already expressed in the CB4 letter that we were in favor. So we want to ask those questions. And there are 3 or 4 items where we have not taken a position, and I would suggest that we take one.
Okay, so I think we all can, with your draft, that would stimulate us to think of, oh, that's included, but maybe what about this? And we'll come back next month and have it on the new business for us, again, a discussion. Because I think we've had a very good discussion.
Right.
And I'm also getting hungry.
Well,
And because I could see us going up for another hour on this.
no, absolutely.
I think we can do it next month.
Yeah.
It's not that time sensitive.
Exactly.
I'm also glad we talked about outdoor dining continuing through December, and we'll have that in this resolution as well. Okay.
Did Mike want to say something?
Mike, well, you wanted to throw something in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I did. First of all, we missed you, Frank, at the general meeting. We need another lawyer, I think. One more lawyer would have done the trick. Maybe we would have stayed there for another half hour and made it 5 hours. In any event, I was harping on people getting their voting sheets done online. And I assume everybody here did that. But sure enough, there were at least 5 people who have not done that. And we ran around again. It took me all day, once again, the entire day, having to hear, transcript, listening to everything, spreadsheets, you name it. It was unbelievable. So it took all day again, and some people simply refuse to do this, and I don't understand why. So going forward, Janine wants us to make sure that people do it the night of, don't wait till tomorrow, the next day. The link is down now. So that it's
okay.
But going forward, the night of, even if it's late, please.
But you're not talking about the committee, right? You are talking about the full board.
He's talking about the full board.
The full board, yeah. So I did the minutes already, okay, which is had to get it out of the way because it was so long, it was so huge meeting. As you know, it was a tough meeting, Frank. I must tell you.
No, I watched a lot of it.
Oh, you did. Well,
Yeah.
there's a transcript that I have. You can download the whole thing. You can watch it. The last 13 minutes of the meeting is how long it took to get the votes out. That section, it's a separate section. Zoom actually made a separate file for the last 13 minutes of the meeting. Very unusual.
You did excellent work, Mike.
You did a good
Excellent
job.
work.
Is there a function of Zoom which allows to vote?
Yes. There
Is there?
There is. I will, next time we meet, I will know better because I'm a member of an international Gestalt Therapy Association, and we were supposed to have our biannual conference in the west of Ireland this coming week. I should have been in Ireland, not here. But so we decided we have to have elections, and we have to have like community meetings and discussions, and we're doing it all by Zoom. It's a 400-member organization. Not all 400 people will be there, but at the elections, we're going to get 150 or so. And we have a person from, it doesn't matter where he's from. We have a person who is familiar, who does this for other organizations, where he has a voting function through Zoom. I don't know. This is what he says.
I think we took Nelly
next week.
We should task Nelly to find from Zoom, from the company.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the technology, and maybe it's a sister technology that you put in addition to that allows you to do the vote, and then Mike and others don't have to run around.
Well, here's the other thing about Zoom, which I found out today. Usually I see the transcript. When I download it, I get a transcript of all everything that's said, and it's pretty good. It's far better than many other transcription services. I didn't see it this time. I did the whole bloody minutes without the transcript. Today I had to go back and look, and there it was. It appeared by magic. The whole transcript is there. So it would have taken hours off the job. My question to Nelly is, one, are we mandated to do this online vote submission? I mean, is that our thing, or do we have to do it?
Well, I think, Michael, you need to talk to Jesse because we can't answer anything.
Yeah. No, I know, but I'm just curious. I mean, because I asked Jesse, he hasn't responded. So do you know?
You'll get an answer. And Nelly, if you want to be, I can sneak you into my meeting over the weekend if you want to join and see how the voting goes.
Okay, send me the info. If I can join, I will join to see. But I will ask Jesse in regards to voting on Zoom and what the mandate is for voting.
That would make your life easier, Mike.
And how you resolve discrepancies between how you voice vote and how you fill out your online vote sheet, or if you don't submit it. Are you not present, even though you are the public authority who voted you? Are you not present because you didn't sign this thing? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Inga,
I have to have a drink.
I would mark absent. It was an illegal absence. If they don't vote, they didn't attend. So it goes on their illegal absence record.
Exactly. It's separate. It's a separate thing. That's right, Inga. That's how I regard it, but I'm not sure the rules do.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, for the work we did and the discussions we've had. And Frank, I'll do the first draft. Frank and I will come up with a second draft, and then we'll send it out to you all. Okay? Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you, Nellie.
Bye.
Thank you all.